Yo, what's going on guys? RESURRECTED here, and today, since we are closing in on the end of September, I want to kick off a brand new series where we basically take a look back at the past month releases. There are so many games that launch every single month, and sometimes we have them on our radar, sometimes they're in our backlog, sometimes we completely miss them, so I thought it'd be fun on a monthly basis to basically take a look back at the biggest titles of that month and some of the ones that you should definitely check out. Of course, I can't encapsulate every single game, so this is just some of the highlights, but regardless, hopefully this is a format that you guys enjoy. If you do, let me know in the comments down below. If this is something you would like to see on a monthly basis, again, let me know. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, and of course, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our future content. So, kicking things off at number 1, in no particular order, I want to start with Kena Bridge of Spirits. This is a game that I recently finished. It is a fantastic title. You take on the role of Kena, who is a spirit guide, and you basically work through this Pixar-looking, Zelda-inspired world, where you basically have to sort of help guide troubled spirits back. It's not a hugely long game. It's the sort of game that you can complete in a sort of 10-hour window, but the world is so vibrant, so full of personality. It genuinely is like taking some of the exploration elements of a Zelda title, partnering that with a Pixar game, and just having some fun 3D platforming adventure. There's like combat elements, there are puzzle solving elements, and there's just this innate feeling that you want to explore every corner of the world. It's a charming game, I had a fantastic time playing through it, and if you are a collector, there's stuff you can go after. Moving on from there to the next game, that is of course the Diablo 2 remaster. I personally haven't had a chance to jump into this just yet. This one of course is on my list. I am someone that has played all the Diablo games in the past. Diablo 2 originally released in 2000. Back then, I had hair and I didn't have a beard. What is this? But regardless, for those of you familiar with it, of course Diablo 2 takes place shortly after the events of the original Diablo. You of course control a new hero, attempting to stop the destruction unleashed by Diablo's return. The game has 5 acts that feature a variety of locations and settings, but in the remaster, the updates mainly focus on the original game's graphics and the network functions, but it does not change any of the item systems or the original game balance. So for all intents and purposes, it plays and feels very much like the original game. You can also toggle between the legacy and the upgraded visuals at any time, so if you're playing through and you do want that traditional old school experience, then you can do so. Following on from there, another title that you should definitely have on your radar if you guys are JRPG fans, Tales of Arise. This is, without question, one of my highlights this year, one of my favorite games this year. It is of course the next installment in the Tales franchise. For any of you guys that have never played Tales of games before, they are all self-contained stories, so if this sounds interesting to you, do not worry, you don't have to have played any of the previous games. You can jump in and you can enjoy it yourself. It's a fantastic take on the JRPG genre, tight, exciting combat, over-the-top special moves, a wide linear world for you to explore without getting too lost on the process, and also a great cast of characters along the way. Honestly, the Tales of franchise has always been one of my favorite JRPG series, and Arise has brought some fantastic stuff to the table. So, if you like your RPGs, you want a fun experience, dive into this one. Another one that recently came out was Lost Judgment. If you guys are into your Yakuza games, then of course the Judgment series should need no introduction, but in this game, you take in the role of Takayuki Yagami, who explores the city, fighting crimes, taking on mobs and gangs of people. Of course, in true Yakuza fashion, you can engage in all of the side activities, going into arcades, going into all these other different mini games, but it also has some hilarious combats. Being able to basically take people out by smashing bicycles over their heads, it's all the hilarity and the insanity you like from Yakuza games in Lost Judgment. Following on from there, another one that you definitely need to check out. Admittedly, I'm a little bit biased because I love these kinds of games, but EASTWARD. EASTWARD is also another game that is, without question, one of my highlights this year. It is a top-down, Zelda-esque pixel adventure game. It's like some of the best parts of Zelda combined with Earthbound and maybe a little bit of Last of Us given the sort of co-op nature of the characters you play through. Basically, you work your way throughout the game, unraveling the mysteries of the story, battling enemies, working your way through this game's equivalent to dungeons, taking advantage of both the characters' unique playstyles, obtaining cool items along the way, and this is all wrapped up in an incredible pixel art visual style. Honestly, this is some of the greatest pixel art I have seen. I love this game so much, and this is for me personally a contender for my game of the year. Of course, earlier this month, we also got DEATHLOOP, another game that has been getting great reviews from pretty much everybody. In this game, you take the role of Colt, who is an assassin stuck in a time loop, and the only way you can get out of this time loop is by taking out 8 targets called Visionaries. This, of course, is developed by Arcane Studios, the same studio that brought you games like Dishonored and Prey, and a lot of people are saying this is possibly one of their finest games yet. The whole loop nature of the game, the fact that everything basically needs to be completed in a single day, means the game is infinitely replayable, and there are loads of different ways to approach your missions, approach your objectives, and the loop nature of it also kind of adds like a puzzle layer to it where you're constantly working out the best, most efficient ways to tackle your objectives, whilst also surviving along the way. Throw in the additional invasion mechanic where Juliana can come into your game either player controlled or AI controlled and basically ruin your day. It's honestly a fantastic and also quite tense experience. One for the narrative fans out there, you of course have Life is Strange True Colors. This is the sequel to the graphic adventure series by Deck 9 and Square Enix. It features the protagonist Alex, who has the ability to read and manipulate people's emotions. If you like narrative heavy games or text adventures, definitely check this one out. Life is Strange of course is a popular series, and this is the latest installment in that. Another game that launched earlier on this month was F.I.S.T. This one is a smaller sort of indie title, but Metroidvania and giant mech fists is basically the combination. If you like Metroidvania style games, you like mechs, then I guess you could call this Mechtroidvania. Basically, in this one, you play as this rabbit who has a giant mech fist. You work your way throughout the game in true Metroidvania fashion. You will then also obtain different items. There is a drill like the one in Gurren Lagann, a drill to pierce the heavens, and you'll then use these to navigate different areas, unlock different areas, battle different enemies. Basically, it's your standard Metroidvania shtick, just with a different theme. Now, one for the sports fans out there, admittedly not the kind of games that I play, but I appreciate if I'm going to round out the games of the month, I kind of at least need to mention it in passing, and that is NBA 2K 2022. It's a sports simulation game, right? It's got new improved gameplay and mechanics, and an overhead fatigue system, and a stamina bar. The career mode lets you ride around the city on a skateboard, and also DJ, so basically it's basketball, but 2022. I don't have much more to say about it, but if sports sims are your thing, then that was of course a big release this month. You then have Sable, which released recently. This is an open world exploration game where the player takes on the role of a young girl, Sable, who searches for a fitting rite of passage mask such that she can return to her nomadic clan. The game has no combat or set storyline. It emphasizes simple puzzle solving and discovery, traversing sand dunes and ruins. Part of the games are customizable, including Sable's hoverbike and clothing, but it's definitely more so one of those games akin to things like Journey, where it's more so about the journey than it is so about the tight moment-to-moment gameplay. Think of it like indie Death Stranding. Hoverbikes, Tokyo breakfast, chilled out, cel-shaded, calm vibes. Basically, it's a cool looking game, and it's also on Game Pass. Then you have Lost in Random. This was an RPG that looks to be if, say, Tim Burton and Final Fantasy VII Remake's battle systems had a weird baby. It features a really interesting claymation stop-motion-esque art style with some light deck building and action RPG mechanics. First time I saw this one, visually it was definitely very enticing. This one is on my backlog currently, but this one released this month. Then of course, dropping just the other day, we have New World. This is a brand new MMO, of course, from Amazon Game Studios. This is set in the mid-17th century. Players colonize a fictional land modeled after the Americas. You can play in groups of up to 5 players, join one of 3 factions, the Marauders, the Syndicates, or the Covenant, and then vie for control over the map. The gameplay, of course, is very familiar if you've played MMO kind of things before. While you have a singular character, you can invest instead into different attributes and different weapons to effectively create what you could call a class, and you then use that to flesh out your character. There's crafting, there's exploration, there are dungeons, there are even large-scale activities called invasions, where you basically battle for control over settlements against hordes of enemies. So if you're looking for your MMO fix, especially given that right now Lost Ark has been pushed back till next year, then New World might be one to check out. And then finally, WarioWare. Wario is back with more shenanigans in WarioWare Get It Together. Similar to previous WarioWare games, you'll basically be completing mini-games, but in this case, you'll be controlling different characters who will have different abilities and methods for completing them. It's bonkers, mindless fun, but it's worth checking out with a friend or two. So there you have it, there's a look back at some of the biggest releases this month. Again, I can't of course cover every single game, but for those of you guys maybe that have missed some of the titles, those are things to consider. Again, if you guys do like this series, you like the idea of this, and you want to see this on a monthly basis, let me know in the comments down below, let me know with a like, and again, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. If you want to catch more from us at RESURRECTED Gaming, don't forget you can catch the guys TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch weekdays, playing a variety of games. If you guys want to jump in, tune in, watch, and even join in, then make sure you check them out. The links to those are in the description box down below, and of course you can join the Discord to get involved in all of the discussions.